re-wet the hands because the clay dries out really quickly. So I'm bracing my elbows in, I'm bending over, and I'm kind of keeping my arms
And you can
like
see
in.
how the clay is like wanting to move them. So you have to like, you'll use way more muscles than you
Right.
think you have to like wrestle.
So I'm like, see, it's wobbly down here, but then I'm just like gently squeezing. And it started to stick there a little bit. See how it pinched right there? My hands were too dry. So one thing I dropped away because I got scared. That was my next thing to tell you, is not to jump away when you get scared. The best way to play with clay is to like ease onto it and then ease off of it. I think I wrote that down somewhere.
Yeah, ease on.
Ease on, ease off. Okay, so this is called coning up. So you kind of get like a tower shape. Other people call it other things.
That's where I'm at.
I teach a father and daughter, like she's probably 13 or so. He's in his 40s, and they had never seen pottery before. They came over to my studio at my house, and they didn't tell me this until like week 6. They're like, yeah, the first night we saw you make that gigantic penis. They were both laughing behind my back, and I'm like, y'all, it's just how you do it. Anyway, so now you cone up, and then you got to cone down. So this hand, your left hand is kind of like pulling in a little bit, just kind of like, I don't know what the right term is for that, but it's like just kind of a boundary for the clay. And this top hand, you're gonna push away from you at like an angle. Let's see, so I'll just kind of go like this. It's kind of hard to see. If you want to come closer, kind of got it offset over there. Yeah, come on. Feel free to get close. It's a weird thing to see. So then you just kind of, you do that whole process again. So I'm coming in. I like to think of this part as like the clay. The clay is a pencil and your body is the pencil sharpener. Is that right? Did I get that right? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this process just like making all of the clay wet
This-
essentially, or?
So what this process is doing is you are ensuring that the clay is centered on the wheel. If the clay isn't centered, when you start to throw, it gets lopsided, it gets off balance, the pot will get wonky. You've seen people whose pots are like kind of wavy and uneven.
Yeah.
Like the walls will be
Right.
different thicknesses.
Right. Okay.
It's, if you don't take the time to center, you'll fight it the entire way.
And when I first started, I was like lazy. And I was like, I can make it work, and you can never make it work. It's just better to figure out how to center, because if it's wonky, it will be wonky.
Right. And this is something you may do like 5 or 6 times. It just kind of depends. You
You'll
kind
be
of,
able to tell when it feels right.
right. That could be a little better, but that's basically centered. You can see it's like, you can put your hand on like this and feel that it's not knocking you. You know, if it was doing my hand like that, then that would be your sign to like go up and try it again. Okay, good thing to note. See how my hands are sticky? So this is too much clay on my hands. So you can periodically kind of clean your hands off. Your hands can be wet, but they don't need to be sticky. Water's good, but once it gets sticky like that, it's called slip, and so that sticks to the clay more. So again, you're just wanting to go for that glide. So I think I had that written over here somewhere, like dry hands bad, sticky hands bad, wet hands good. All right, so now we've got, this is kind of our base form where all things begin. From here you can make a vase, you can make a bowl, you can make a mug? There we go. I was like, what else do you make?
Cylinder.
Cylinder. There we go. Okay. So what I like to do at this point is kind of run my thumb along the bottom. Actually, I might do that a little bit later, but I'll come back to that. So now you're going to open up. And the process here is you are going to, you basically want to get down to the center, make almost like a donut is what you're doing. So again, you can have your hands here, put your thumbs together, and you're gonna kind of just start to press down gently. and that helps find the center. You'll notice that got dry really quickly, so you add a little bit of water. And your hands here, you really aren't pushing or doing anything. There's no pressure here. It's more of a guide to like make sure that my thumbs stay where they're supposed to be. And you just kind of continue to push down. I notice that my fingers start to get dry, so I'm gonna back off. You just add a little bit more water. You can also see how this is starting to do a little lip up here? You can push down on it gently to kind of keep everything steady. And then just continue to go. Now the goal with making this well is you don't want to go all the way to the bottom of the wheel head because you want a coffee cup that holds coffee. So if you do go all the way down, we can teach you how to make a luminary, something that fits over a candle. It's really hard to go back after you punch down through the bottom, so stop before you think you're there, and I'll show you how to test that. So turn off the gas, keep your foot away from the gas. So this is a needle tool. Because it looks like a needle. So what you do is you take this needle tool and poke the center of your clay, and then slide your finger down until your fingertip touches the base of the clay. Pull it up. Oop, I didn't do a roll because my hand's slippery. Okay. And that shows you that that's the depth of the clay. That's a little thick, but that's probably really good for right now. About 1/4 to 1/2 inch is what you want to go for. So that's kind of your signal to you're like, okay, so now that that is a good depth, you can start to open it up and transform this into whatever you want it to be. At this point, you can still kind of, I think the goal would be to get it into like a cylindrical shape, and then you can go from there. So we were going full speed, so I'm going to bring it down to about medium and just kind of play like that's high speed, and every wheel is a little bit different, so just kind of play with it to figure out where you want to be. Sometimes it's okay to like tap it like that. You have to. Okay, so now again, wet hands, wet clay. So I'm going to start to open this up. So what I'm doing here is I'm keeping this elbow braced here. And there's several different ways you can do this. This is just the way I learned to do it. Is you're kind of pulling, everybody can come closer if you want to. So I'm going to put my fingers here, I'm going to push down and pull toward me because I'm going to widen this clay open, like that. So this outside hand is not really doing anything except making sure that I'm not yanking too quickly. You want your movements to be gentle, steady, but confident. And again, easing on and easing off. So I might go a little bit more. And I can feel this clay start to get dry. So again, back away, make sure that you're using enough water. All right. Another thing to do as you go along, while you do want to add water to your piece, you don't want it to be filled with water because that's going to make the bottom of the piece get soupy. It's going to mess with the integrity. It's going to also make it hard to tell, where your actual clay is. So periodically, get some of the water out of there. Just kind of get a feel for what's going on. You can always add it back in. Okay, so now I'm going to raise the roof, raise the walls a bit. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit more. So this is where, if you saw, I put my thumb over here and made this little trench. That's going to make it easier in a minute to raise the walls up. Okay. Actually, probably slow it down a little bit more. Okay. So